Aloha, this is Sean Marlin coming to you from Hawaii. I'm going to show you today how to use proxies uh, in StatePipes. So let's just get, I'm showing you right now that I have the infrastructure up and running. This is just a blank instance of Visual Studio. So I'm going to create a new StatePipe solution. And yes, that's the directory I want to be in. And I'm going to call this company is AAA, just sticking with that for now. And I guess we're going to call this uh, proxy example. And we'll just hit OK. Okay, I can close down this instance of Visual Studio. And okay, so we created that solution. I'm just going to build it really quick. And then I'm going to add another service to this so that I can proxy to it. Um, it doesn't have to be another service. It could be a totally different solution, and you would just add the NuGet package for that solution. But we'll leave that for later. So what I'm going to do is add a new bagpipe service, state pipe service. Sorry, I keep making that mistake. And I'm going to call this proxy example.child, right? And there we go. We're going to reload the solution. So now I have over here, you'll see 6 projects, 2 class projects, 2 service projects, and 2 test projects. Okay, so I'm just going to rebuild everything. Um, actually, and then what I'm going to go, I'm going to have proxy example talk to proxy child, right? So first thing I'm going to do is add a project reference, and I'm going to add it to the proxy child class library, okay, because that's where all the triggers and events are defined in. And let me build that real quick. Build, rebuild. Okay, now everything's working just fine. And now what I'm going to do is, so I want to be in the project that I want the proxy to exist in. So I'm in uh, proxy example, and I'll say tools, new StatePipes proxy. Okay, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask for a moniker for this, and I'm just going to call it child. Um, so there's a thing about the monikers. The monikers should be unique because you might have multiple instances of these, and then the proxy we generate will find all we'll put all monikers that have the same prefix under one proxy. So we'll go into that a lot more later in a different video, but we'll just create the moniker for this one called child. Um, and then it's asking me to select a class library to create the proxy to. So because some class libraries have supporting NuGets, let's say you developed a NuGet that class library needs, and it's been included, you want to get the proxy will generate all the classes and everything for even those supporting um, classes, unless they're standard, like they're either part of state pipes or the part of system. So what we're going to do is we are going to, uh, and it actually already put me there. It put me in the service project, so I know I've been building debug. So I'm going to now select that DLL for the child because I want to have a proxy to that. And I'm going to say open. Okay, and that's finished. So what you saw, now that this is my first proxy, it created a proxy directory. It created the code, and we'll go into this a lot more in a second. Um, and we'll get all the way down to the bottom because this is the main part that we're going to be looking at for reference. And then what it also did, if you go up in here and your default setup, you can see that it actually registered the proxy with AutoFac, our AutoFac container builder, and then it actually started the proxy. So, and one last thing, we'll go in here, and it automatically updated the service configuration to have a proxy right here, and it's been added to the proxy list, the list of proxies. Okay, so we can just build that right off the bat. Um, and okay, now we're ready to use it. So what are we going to do? We are going to actually daisy train the dummy trigger. So we're going to get the dummy trigger here in uh, 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 the proxy example, and we're going to then take forward a dummy trigger to the child. It's going to publish an event. We're going to get that event, and then we're going to publish our event. So um, we have to do some modifications real quick. One of the things is we want to get that event. Now remember, everything goes into your state machine as a command. So let's go look at that proxy. So if you look down here, this is the dummy event, but it gets converted into a command called dummy event from child trigger, or trigger, excuse me, um, that, and so that can be sent and handled by your state machine. So we are going to copy this because we're going to need that. And let's go into our state machine, and we are going to go states, parent state. We are going to sit there, and this is where we handle our dummy trigger guard. We are going to, we want to handle this event coming back, but it's coming back as a trigger. Uh, sorry, that permit, and we'll just do reentry if, and we're going to get this. When we get that trigger from that proxy, we want to do, we want to have a guard, and so we can do something with it. And let's just quickly generate that method. And we're going to sit there and we're going to say, okay, if we get this trigger, and it's got to be of this type. Now this is the weakness. When we get the trigger, you know, it's a good check to be putting in this type, and then this trigger gets typed for you. But if you're copying code, a lot of times the problems happen because you forgot to change the type here, and it's still like dummy trigger, right? So we get this trigger, which is now really the contents of the event, and we're going to publish our dummy event off of that. And it's not, the thing is, when you get triggers from a proxy, because that proxy can be referencing multiple instances that where each instance has a distinct name, it there's a data, there's a, let's just do this. There's a data portion of it, which is the contents of the event that you came, and then the proxy name. We know it's only coming from one. We don't want to deal with the proxy name right now, so it'd be data.good, okay? And so we would be publishing this. And of course, we don't want to re-enter. We're just using this, so we're going to return false. So we've handled the daisy chaining of events. Now let's handle the daisy chaining of triggers. Now we're going to go back to our proxy again. Now up here, again, we triggers slash commands, triggers come into the state machine, but events come out. So our state machine is going to publish an event, which is then this proxy is then going to translate into the trigger that it sends to the child. Okay, so right here, you will see we have a dummy trigger to child event. Okay, so we are going to take that and we are going to go back into our parent state. And instead of publishing the event here, we are going to go, we are going, well, here, let's, instead of publishing the dummy event here, we're going to be publishing this event, so it'll send the trigger. Okay. And it's still the same. There's a constructor on there that makes it look like it's the same as the trigger that you would be sending. Okay, so we've daisy chained that. So we can now see if we send in a dummy trigger, we don't publish the dummy event unless we get the dummy event back from the child. Okay, should be pretty simple, right? Um, so let's just build that. Okay, and then we're going to demonstrate that. Another thing that the scripts did for us, remember, I just have this highlight Docker infrastructure up because I want the passwords. Um, we're going to open up the start and stop scripts for this new solution, which was repos, proxy example, run scripts, start and stop. Okay, I pull those up. The other thing when we added the proxy, added a service to this solution is it updated our start script so it would start both services. Okay, and starting both services also opens up the StatePipes viewer page to each one of the services. So let's just run that. Okay, and I'll bring this over to here. Um, we need to put the password in for both of these pages. So let's go back to here. Let's copy that password. Let's go back to the website. We'll paste that password in there and hit connect. We'll go on to the other one, paste that password in there and hit connect. Okay, so both of them are up and running right now. So how do we show what I'm going to do here? Move tab to a new window, and I am going to put them side by side. Okay, so this is the example, this is the child. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to put the dummy event up here for the child and put the dummy event up here and put the dummy trigger right there. Let's put the dummy trigger right there. Okay, so I'm going to move this to the top of the screen. So, but the child still has it's going to publish an event if I send it directly a trigger, but it's going to cause the parent to actually publish the same contents of the dummy event. So we'll hit send here. We'll see that this false came up just like that. This false came up too. They came up, it looked like this one came up before this one. That's a misnomer. It's just that everything's updating on a 1 second periodic for this UI. Um, So they just were on different periods, and it just so happened to show up in one place to the other. This one happened first, and then this one. Okay, so let's set it to true and see if that still happens. Yep, they both get true. Okay, so now what we're going to do is send it from the parent and watch the being false and see they both updated to false. Again, uh, this one's still set to true, so if I do true here, they both get updated to true, but the parent is sending it. So it's really simple. Um, the uh, the trick though is learning about those conversions when you have the proxy and getting your head wrapped around that. So let's see again, child proxy. When um, you want to publish a trigger to something you're proxied, you have to find the event for it because you're going to publish an event and then it's going to convert it into a trigger and then send it to the service that's being proxied. When you want to receive the event from a child, again, it's going to be this is going to automatically subscribe and turn that into a trigger that you can then handle within your state machine. So I know it's a little confusing. Also, one last little trick. Let's say there are events, because this will find all the public events. There are events that you don't want to handle for, let's say, performance sake. So you could just copy out that, you comment out that line, and then it would never be handled. Okay, so this is modifiable. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And it's Sean Marlin signing off. Aloha and ahoy ho.